And we are all Americans in this continent. We all are Americans, not only U.S. citizens. Chileans, Guatemalans, Mexicans, Haitians, we are all Americans. We share this continent. We also share the American dream. Remember, let us together remember those hundreds of thousands of people that came through Ellis Island and the port of New York into this land of opportunity, looking for their American dream. They came from all over Europe. And all of us sitting here, if we look back, we all have an immigrant origin, family, except Indian Americans. But we all, the rest, are immigrants. At the very end, we are all immigrants. And fortunately, that is what moves nations, that is what moves economies. And immigration is an asset to all economies. And I can advance you that I am not for illegality. I am not for disorder. I am for using our common sense, our brains, and make use of immigration for the better of our lives and the quality of our lives. And let's sit down and discuss the issue and the subject. Because as well as those hundreds of thousands came to this great nation, hundreds of thousands came through the port of Veracruz to Mexico. Migrants coming from Europe and from different parts of the world. And same thing happened in Brazil. And same thing happened in Argentina, in Chile, and everywhere in this continent. I just visited in Cincinnati, Ohio, the city of my grandfather. And I went and visited Freedom Center. Freedom Center is a very special place in Cincinnati, Ohio. It tells us about history, the history of the Afro-Americans, and the way they were brought to this land against their will. The way slavery treating these human beings. But also the light of hope with those who came to fight to eradicate slavery in this nation. But it's good to go back to history. It's good to learn from lessons of the past. And I am not here to compare the way some immigrants are being treated here and the way slaves were treated then. But in politics, in government, in a nation as big as this one, compassion should be an ingredient. Love should be an ingredient. It's not building walls that this great nation is going to solve its problems. This nation has been the leader, the champion of openness, of globalization. All of our nations, including Mexico, were convinced by the United States to open our markets. And we paid a big price to bring in Coca-Colas, to bring in Chryslers, to bring in Fords, to bring in computers. We paid a big price thinking that we would be losing our jobs. But we had wisdom and vision, and we decided to trade, open, and partner with the United States through NAFTA. And today the leader, and this is why I have to repeat, this nation I love, this nation I admire, backs up, builds walls, closes its markets. believe it's very difficult for me to understand the decisions that are being made in this nation. I love to see this leader back to its basics, back to those dreams and those core values of the Founding Fathers, back to those great ideas like the Marshall Plan that rescued Europe from a total destruction, from hunger. That Marshall Plan that moved into the process of building the European Union. And today, some of those countries enjoy the highest per capita income, the highest quality of life in the world. And the nations that were poor, like Spain, like Greece, like Portugal, like Ireland, overcame their problems, overcame their poverty, because of the solidarity that included the Marshall Plan, which excluded nobody, or the philosophy of the Union, the real Union of Europe. That's an example. And again, I go back to those core values that make these dreams possible. Solidarity, compassion, love, vision, wisdom. The only reason I'm here in the United States and I wrote that book is to call the attention not only of U.S. public opinion, but to call the attention of U.S. Congress and U.S. government. It's a federal issue and must be dealt with within federal institutions. But the absence of decisions is bringing these empty spaces that are being felt by whom? Number one, the xenophobics. We had the Minutemen right out here a few minutes ago shouting. And fear. And fear. I perceive fear in this nation. Very understandable after September 11th. That day should never, never repeat again. In all democratic nations of the world, we must keep working to make sure that we eradicate terrorism from this world. But immigrants are no terrorists, are no criminals. They are here looking for a better life, same as you do every day. He who loves his family, he works for better quality for that family. So, my pledge is, let's build bridges instead of walls. Let's build bridges of understanding, bridges of love, bridges of comprehension. And let's sit down and come out with a proper framework for managing, for handling the immigration issue. And then we'll have that better world. And let me finish by saying, the 21st century is the century of Latin America. We will recuperate all the time we lost in the hands of dictators. All the 20th century, we lost it in Latin America, in hands of military dictatorships, personal dictatorships, authoritarian and corrupt governments like we had in Mexico for 72 years. But fortunately now we got rid of those problems. In the 21st century is the century of Latin America. We'll do much better. And 21st century is the century of women. Because in politics, we need some few of those great virtues that women have. Virtues that are needed for public and political decisions. virtues and attributes that are needed for running corporations, or for running NGOs, or for running a family, or for running and working with a community. And I heard a few days ago that the day that politicians, presidents, prime ministers will let themselves be guided more by God than by the polls, then we will have that better world that we all need today. Y gracias. But one word to my paisanos, my dear, most loved paisanos, Mexican immigrants here in the United States. I love them. I love the Juanitas, the Pedros, the Xochitls, the Marias. I love all of them. And I want to tell them that I'm with them hasta donde tope. That I'm with them until the rest of my days. That Marta and I will keep traveling, will keep moving, will keep writing to be at your side in attaining that reform, that immigration reform. Gracias.
If you all want to take your seats, let's do about 10 minutes worth of questions, because I want President Fox to have plenty of time to sign everyone's books. So if you'll just raise your hand if you have a question. Sir, right here in front.
Mr. President, do you think the Amero has any chance?
The
Common currency?
whom?
Common currency.
Common currency.
The process of building the union took 60 years up to now, the European Union, 60 years process. And having a common currency is just one small aspect of having the great concept of unity, the great concept of working together, the great concept of solidarity. So at the very end, we could speak about the cherry on the pie. Maybe that would be that common currency. I don't see it not before year 2040, 2050, as long as we keep working together.
There is a question over here, Mr. President.
The media in Mexico usually talks really, really, really good about the current president and really, really, really bad about the former president. Now, it was shocking that you gave green light to the media to allow them to say whatever they wanted about you. But I don't think they were fair. They were just all the time talking bad stuff. They didn't talk about the good stuff. Do you think this happened because the other political parties still have influence on the media, or because the journalists were not mature enough to handle that phrase?
A couple of thoughts here. I have to defend myself. No, a recent poll, very recent poll came, Roy Campos, and President Fox right now, at this very critical moment, when part of media has used what is sacred to me, their freedom of information, their freedom of speaking, but they have not used it with responsibility. But anyway, the poll still holds that 55% of Mexicans are with President Fox. 55%. And that's the average I held throughout the 6 years. I remember you that I won the election with 42% of the votes. And I still hold 55% approval from people. But more important, why? Why this happens? I think that the former government, has not digested yet their loss in year 2000. They would love to take our country back to the past of corruption, the past of authoritarian government. And in year 2006, López Obrador and his team have not yet digested that they didn't win the election. And they have gone against all the institutions in Mexico and against everybody in trying to defend what they cannot defend. Because, among others, Senator Carter and hundreds of observers came to that election last year, and everybody gave testimony that it was a clean, fair, equal opportunity election to all the participants. So it's just life. And I learned from my grandfather and later from my father that in this life you don't retire. You don't pension yourself and you stay at home. Because then, in a way, you begin to die. So what I learned from them, keep writing, keep moving, go after your dreams, fight to attain the impossible. And I also learned from them a very practical advice. If you stop, your enemies catch you. So let them behind. Let them bark, as El Quijote said to Sancho. The dogs are barking, then we're moving, we're advancing.
Mr. President, there's one right here.
Señor Presidente, bienvenido a Atlanta. Kind of to lead up on that question, President Carter has been such an effective ex-president. What is your vision of being an ex-president, and where is it you want to go, and what problems are you going to sink your teeth into?
Yeah. I would love to be like him. But I'm, like San Pedro said, I cannot even untie strings of his shoe. He's a great man. He's become a great man, President Carter.
Did they give any
Recognized everywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world today. And I also would like to be like him at his age. I just saw him and he looks young, strong, dynamic, and so does Rosalind. I love both of them. They're in love, as Mark and I are in love. No, we don't give advice among each other. We try to learn from each other. We try to take the good, successful stories. And that's why I came here to the center, in trying to associate with the center, trying to work together for the same causes on which we believe. And I hope we will deserve the attention of this center so that we can associate with Central Fox. We're building the first presidential library ever in Mexico, in Rancho San Cristobal, in the municipio of San Francisco del Rincón, in the state of Guanajuato, and in Mexico. Will somebody please repeat this address? Well, there you have your home. All of you have your home right there. We are more than willing to welcome you there, to embrace you, to invite you so that we build these bridges together, to invite you to visit this presidential library, which will be finished by the end of this year, and also to invite you a little tequila and an enchilada.
Gentleman right there.
Mr. President, as former president of Mexico, now free to express his views candidly, what do you think of the United States policy towards Cuba and Venezuela?
Well, on Cuba, a mistake, the embargo. Didn't work, will not work. That's not the way to approach. So you know who was the loser? The same United States, because everybody's trading with Cuba. Mexico is, European Union is, Canada is, Brazil is, all of us, we're trading with Cuba. I don't think that you can force democracy. Democracy, you just have to... We just have to nourish it, promote it, and let it be. And in relation to Venezuela, there is no policy yet. But I can tell you that Hugo Chavez is about to become the dictator of the 21st century. And that his will is to be the Castro of the 21st century. And he's coming up with very obsolete, absolutely obsolete policies, like him saying that he's inventing socialism and communism of the 21st century. I mean, he will only make poor in Venezuela more poor. And he will only increase the amount of poor in Venezuela through his populistic, demagogic actions. And I think the King of Spain was right. I'm with him all the way.
I want to give the president plenty of time to ask. Okay, yes, we're going to do one more question, and let's take a lady right there.
Thanks. You said that this would be the century of women. There are several Latin American countries with women presidents. There was some speculation that Martha would run in 2006. How soon do you think there will be a woman president in Mexico?
Marta never. ¿Estás aquí, Marta? Un beso. Que vengas al podio, Marta. Dice una mujer, y a una mujer no se le niega nada. She was not thinking to be a candidate in the past. She is not thinking to be a candidate today. She and I share dreams, share love, share professional work, share this dream to the future, to be working for our beliefs, for our commitments, and to be working for people. That's the only thing we want to do. And Marta is a great companion. We connect professionally. We connect in our love. We connect in our work. We connect through the internet. We connect wireless. And we connect at night someday.